Hi everyone, welcome back. What happens if we're doing common factors but there's a negative at the front? So how does it affect the question? In this case I could swap it around and do the question, but really I want to teach you the technique because often that's not of a use. And if I swap this one around, there'll still be negative on the front term and then negative on the back term or the second term. So let's just say we ignored the negative for a moment. And I said, what's in 6, what goes into 6 that goes into 8? Most people just look at them and say they're both even, so I can put a 2 outside the bracket. There's nothing else to come outside the bracket, it's just the 2. So let's have a look at what's going on. If I took the negative out as well, the minus 2 out as well, I've got this question. Minus 2 times what is a negative? So a negative times a negative becomes a positive. I smile because I do it so often. 2 negatives become a positive. So if I had a negative written there, and I still remember doing this at school, if I wrote that as negative 3, negative 2 times negative 3 would be positive 6. And I don't want positive 6. So negative 2 times negative 3 would be positive 6. Not what I want a negative 6. So that one cannot be a negative, it has to be a positive. So if I write it up here, negative 2 times 3, how many negatives are there? There's one lonesome negative and it stays negative. Unless it's got another negative it can match up with, it stays as a negative. Now we also need the x. Now the big one. This is what I really remember at school. 2 watts are 8, that was easy. I put my 4 in. And I go a negative times 8, and I would even just write it in. I say, I think it's negative. A negative by a negative is a positive. And then I go, yep, I'm correct. Nice easy question. That would go to multiply there, remember. So if we double check, minus 2 by 3 is minus 6 or negative 6 with an x. Negative 2 by negative 4 is positive 8. So that one's not too bad. Go to this one here. I'm going to take this time the negative out, and I'm also going to take out the 5 because 5 goes into this and 5 goes into that. So we're really thinking about our 5 times tables. So there's a 5 there, there's an x there, there's a y there, different letters. I can't take anything else out. Remember what we're doing is changing this sum here, this addition here, that controls these two terms. We're pulling the 5s out to turn it into a multiplication because multiplication is more powerful to use in solving equations and simplifying fractions and doing later on even doing calculus. So the question is, a minus times a what is a minus? If I wrote a minus times a minus, or a negative by a negative is a positive. That can't be a negative. So 5 times 2 is the 10, and I've still got the x there. There's no letters in common, it's just the numbers coming out. Now I could just write this down. 5, there's the 5, and the y doesn't come out, it stays inside. So we're taking out those. So we're left with the x and the y on the inside, and then we say 5 watts a 10. Now the big question, does a negative multiplied by a negative become a positive? And you go, yeah, it does. So that's the correct answer there. So this one's got a different twist to it because it's got a subtract there. So what's it going to do to the question? It's going to change what's in the brackets. So let's have a look as well. If I look at these numbers again, I've got a 9 and a 6, so we're talking about the 3 times tables. Keep nagging about it. 3 times tables really stop a lot of people from getting answers correct. So there's a minus here. I'm just going to take out the minus to start with, and I know that's a multiple of 3. That's a multiple of 3. So 3 goes into both of them. So I put the 3 there. There's an x in this one, and there's an x squared over here. So I can't take out the x squared because I don't have 2 of them. I can only take out 1 of them. And I put the brackets in, and then the big question all the time. A negative times a what would be a negative. So that if I had a negative there, you get a positive, so it can't be that. Let's have a look what it is. 3 3s are 9, and the x is gone. So the x has gone out to the front, so there it is there. And one of these x's will come out to the front as well. So little arrows there sometimes help. I've stopped writing them. Okay, big question. Forget about the negative for a moment. 3 times what is 6, so that's a 2. X times what is x squared, so that's an x. And there's also a y. Now let's say I wasn't sure, I could just put a negative there. So let's check what's going on, or subtract, use them interchangeably. A negative times a negative would be a positive. So that cannot be correct. So if I put a positive there or an addition, a negative times a positive, so a negative times a positive is one negative, and that one negative stays as a negative or as a subtract. So let's check we're right. 3 3s are 9 with a minus. This is how you can think as well. There's one minus. 3 3s are 9x with a 1 minus. Let's do this one. 3 2s are 6. X times x is x squared. And there's the y. 1 minus times a positive is a minus. Or 1 negative times a positive. One last one. I'm going to go through this one fairly quick. The video's getting too long. There's a minus 5 in here. There's a minus 5 in there. But there's not a 5 in that one there. So I'm not taking out the 5s or the 10s. So I'm going to take out the minus. There's an m in all of them. There's an n in all of them. And some of them have more m's and more n's. So there's an m and an n. So what's left over? Oh, I'm going to try to do this a bit quicker. The m and the n and the minus are gone. So that leaves us with a 5. The m and the n are gone. But there's an extra m there. Now, I still need the 10, and if I put a minus there and double check myself, minus times a minus would be a positive, so I can't do that, it's got to be that. So then I've got a negative times a positive would be a negative. Last one, and I took the m outside, I could tick it off and say the m's gone, and the n, one of the n's gone, but not both of them. So this one still has an n left behind. So if I take out, here's another way to think about it. If I take out the negative, I'm left with a positive. If it works for your brain, now you could check a negative times a positive is a negative. There's the question done. Let's double check it. So it's 5mn with a minus. This is 10m squared n with a minus. And this is mn squared with a minus. And my question's done. Oh, that's enough. We can keep going on and on. I can make up crazy questions. Maybe I will another time. Hope you're enjoying them. If you are, just let your friends know.